I highly suggest you stop talking about my nephew.
Who's scared of you now?
I'm sorry, I don't talk Lamo.
Y'all looking stupid right now.
To all my general Big Brother viewers, first of all, a massive congratulations to y'all for watching one of the most entertaining pre-merges we've seen in a while in BB24. I am seriously having a blast with this season as of now, and I couldn't be happier with this chaotic start.
Any chips before a workout?
Just stop. From this point on, just stop.
With the Lays?
No, with your fake. I'm aware I'm going home next week. I have nothing to hide anymore. I've been laying it all out, dude.
I'm happy Daniel's not yelling at me right now.
But second, and more importantly, what do you think would be the best thing about living in the Big Brother house? Meeting new people, assessing your endurance, taking cold showers and eating slop? Assuming you all said the final option, why would you even say that? It literally makes no sense. But convenient as it may be, have-nots are actually going to be the subject of today's video. Specifically, we're going to be ranking every single have-not room from North American Big Brother. To clarify, the seasons I'll be ranking include Big Brother Canada 1 to 9, Big Brother Over the Top, and Big Brother US 11 to 24. The way I'll be breaking it down is first going over each season's room earliest to newest, and giving a basic assessment of the room and my general thoughts. I'll mention where in the list one room will be in relevance to another, but the list itself will not come until the second half of the video. We've got 24 rooms to rank, so let's not waste any time and get into the first season to include an entire room for have-nots, which is Big Brother 11 from 13 years back in 2009. This room had thin sheets atop metal for mattresses, and the thin blankets and pillows did not provide much more comfort. For a starting room, this certainly isn't anything nice, but I do appreciate that the house guests could sleep with their bodies fully extended over the metal sheet. This might not seem like a huge deal right now, but you'll come to see just how cramped some of these rooms can get.
It's barren, it's bleak, it's minimalist, it's the worst, and by the end of the week, I will be in a straitjacket.
You all, this is not that bad.
Are you kidding?
No.
Moving on to room number 2, we have Big Brother 12's nasty looking and smelling room, with live maggots and crickets in jars all around and lawn chairs to sleep on. In my opinion, this room is swapping out a more comfortable bed situation, having lawn chairs instead of a metal slab. However, the environment surrounding them being smelly and generally uncomfortable as they're sleeping around jars of bugs makes me think this room is worse than the last. I think I could deal with the metal surroundings of the BB11 room better than the wretched stench of this one.
Y'all, seriously, there's no snakes in here, is there? Are there spiders? Will those bugs come out?
No. This room is so gross. America, there are maggots that are supposed to sleep next to my head. Worst room ever.
The next have-not room from the next season of Big Brother 13 is essentially just a brightly colored padded cell with hard beds and even brighter lights that don't turn off. And this doesn't affect where I place the room, but I thought it was worth mentioning that both have-not rooms from seasons 11 and 13 were called insane asylums from Shima and Danny respectively.
It looks like an insane asylum.
This is pretty bad, you guys. This looks like an insane asylum.
Since this is the first time the show seems to acknowledge that the lights can't go out, I'm just assuming that this is the first time a have-not room is operating in this way. Even with as annoying as that could get, it's a no-brainer to me that this room would be the best thus far. The pillows don't look much more comfortable than the others, but I definitely think the blankets do, so again, I think this is easily the most comfortable.
It's so bright in here. The last place you kind of want to take a nap is like a starch white room with like the brightest lights in all of North America. It's not a bed made for a queen, but the true mark of a princess or a queen is that you can deal with anything.
In the following season of Big Brother 14, the have-not room was arguably the show's least comfortable up to that point. First off, the metal material beds seem to be very similar, if not the exact same, to that of BB11's. But where at least they got some type of sheet to put over it, all the BB14 beds came with was just a pillow and a blanket, and they were curved and tilted down. To make matters worse, the wallpaper is absolutely hypnotic, and I could totally see it being a nightmare to wake up to. So yeah, I definitely think this is the worst have-not room so far.
Bed situation is my worst nightmare. You got a curved horn that's angled at like a 30-degree angle, just enough that you're gonna slide. And it looks like it's smooth, but there's actual rivets of diamond plate. That's gonna kill me.
We have finally arrived at our first season of Big Brother Canada, where the have-not room is barely even a have-not room in my opinion. The sketchy hotel aesthetic does have creepy pictures of clowns lining the room walls along with a static TV. As for the bed situation, however, there was one small circular bed and a cot for the have-nots to sleep in, which could almost be a normal room in the house that isn't specifically for have-nots in my opinion. Maybe the circular bed is a lot smaller than I'm thinking it is, watching the show, but regardless, I think this is by far the most comfy have-not room so far, and could quite possibly be the best overall.
Guys, this is like my ideal HOH room. I'm so happy.
I really love the orange bedspread from the have-not room. Like, when I win HOH, I want it to be all orange, like that room, minus the clowns.
Okay, looking at the next have-not room from Big Brother 15, it makes BB14's hypnosis room look like a penthouse suite. 4 of these airplane seats in sets of 3 were scattered around the room, and of course they couldn't be reclined back. I'm pretty sure you're able to move the middle armrests in each of the seats up, but even as such, you're having to scrunch your body to fit over this horribly uncomfortable leather with a tiny throw pillow and blanket. And the seatbelts are also probably very uncomfy to sleep on. I would say this is definitely the worst have-not room thus far.
Where do we even sleep? When I was in those seats, I was like, you gotta be kidding me right now. I hate planes, I hate sleeping on planes. I couldn't be any closer to hell. This is worse than a connection flight.
Instead of the next season of Big Brother Canada 2 having a have-not room, they had a half-not room. Because it was all cut in half. I'll admit, the aesthetic of chairs missing their bottoms and beds being halfway sunk into the walls was interesting, and the low ceiling and inability for the lights to turn off are definitely annoying. But I think it would have been rougher to have the beds sunk into the walls the other way. That would have been cool to see. This certainly isn't the comfiest room we've seen so far, but I would say it's slightly better than the metal mattresses from BB11.
So nice. We can cuddle.
I just want to sit in the corner and cry. Why would you do this to us?
For Big Brother 16, the have-nots had to sleep in an ice-cold room whose temperature reads 0 degrees Fahrenheit in the introduction of the room, but I'm not sure how true that is. They also say they sleep on icicle beds, but I'm pretty sure those aren't actual slabs of ice. They have emergency blankets they can sleep with, along with mittens and scarves to wear that definitely make the room more bearable. So even though I'm not quite sure how cold the room is, I'd assume it's bad enough to go right between the curved BB14 beds and the BB12 lawn chairs.
Dude, you get to sleep on this? It looks like freaking Antarctica in here. I won't be surprised if penguins are about to start making out. These 4 have-nots volunteered, but after this week, they're gonna be crying to their mommies. It's so damn cold.
The next season of Big Brother Canada 3 features arguably the blandest of all North American BB rooms, with a totally empty space that includes 1 small and dirty mattress per person. As naked as the room seems, there was a twist there hidden behind one of the floor panels. There was an alarm in the room that would seemingly go off at random times, but the house guests later found out that it was set off by whenever they lay atop a specific floor panel. Overall, this room is pretty dingy, but it's nowhere near the worst room. I'd rank it just above the Sketchy Hotel from BB Can 1.
It looks like a prison. All you have to sleep on is one mat.
Yeah, this one has like stains on it. This one looks like it's been stained with cat piss. Like, I feel like they got these like in a dumpster.
For Big Brother 17, the theme of a dentist's office sounds much worse than it is in my opinion. Sure, there is dental equipment placed all around the room that somehow seemed outdated and sterile at the same time, but the seats are already slightly reclined back, so I don't think sleeping would be abysmal. Of course, there have been nicer have-not rooms in the past, but I'd say this is slightly worse than BB Can 2's half-not room.
It's a little weird with the creepy, sterile looking dentist equipment all over the place. It's like the perfect storm to make you a basket case.
Yeah, you have teeth in there.
Between the international veterans entering the game and 2 twins acting as 1 player, BB Can 4 is chaotic for a handful of reasons, and the have-not room certainly follows this trend. The have-nots had to sleep in a mock wedding chapel that, though it looked nice, featured small benches all down the middle aisle with narrow spaces of ground on either side. Essentially, you were bound to be unbearably uncomfortable whichever way you decided to sleep. There's no doubt in my mind that this is the worst of the BB Can rooms mentioned so far, but overall, I think it's the runner-up for the worst room right behind the airplane seats from BB15.
I see the narrow benches and I'm thinking to myself, I don't know that I'm gonna get any sleep at all.
Maybe you could pull all the flowers out and make like a flower bed.
The next season of Big Brother 18 had a carnival-themed have-not room with bumper cars as beds. I feel like this is the one that I see pop up most frequently when people discuss the worst have-not room ever, and I think it's incredibly valid. With the bumper car beds, it doesn't even matter if you're short or tall. I'm catching the vibe that your sleeping arrangement is going to be the least comfortable it's ever been in BB history. On top of that, the obnoxious lights all on the walls make the abandoned carnival games all the creepier. This is for sure the worst have-not room we've talked about thus far.
The theme seems to be a circus situation. So, okay, cool, I got these strong men, I got the acrobats, I got all this stuff going on around me, and then I'm sleeping next to a bearded lady. All right. Thanks.
The next season we have is the Paramount Plus exclusive version of the show with Big Brother Over the Top. Starting week 2, America got to vote for 3 house guests to become have-nots every week, where they would sleep in a haunted house room. The freaky theme was completed by having trampoline beds made to look like spider webs. As if the season wasn't already made easier by only lasting around 60 days as opposed to the traditional 90, I think this room is the most comfortable of all the US seasons we've discussed up to this point.
I have no freaking idea how I'm going to sleep in this room. There's rats, there's cockroaches, like there's weird gargoyles, and like the worst is there's spiders. I have an irrational fear of spiders. I'm just praying that these spiders like don't attack me while I'm dreaming.
Some may say the fans versus favorite season of Big Brother Canada 5 is the show at its peak. While I may not agree with that, I do think it's the worst have-not room as of now, and quite possibly overall as well. The prehistoric theme of the have-not room this season sees dirt and bones lining the floor, while the middle spinal part is huge and jagged. I think this is worse than all the others because with most of those, if you don't like the area you're meant to sleep in, you at least have a naked floor to work with. Here, there is no possibility of more than 2 people being able to lay flat on the ground, and even then, their headrest seems rough as hell. It's crazy how I just said the bumper cars from BB-18 were the worst, but the unavoidable jagged sleeping arrangements make this prehistoric room skyrocket above it.
I'm not being dramatic, and I'm telling you, I can't do this.
Stab myself.
Some people are have-nots, but I'm HOH, baby.
Heading back to US for the next season of BB19, the have-not room, in this case, is the spike room, which I think is the most deceptively bad room. Now, the spikes are an obvious pain to lay on top of, but clips from the live feeds and the show illustrate that the have-nots can place cushions over top the spikes, essentially nullifying their intention. I know it doesn't fully take away from the spikes doing their job, but I have to put it towards the bottom half of the list, right below the dentist chairs from BB17.
What the? How am I supposed to sleep? Man, where's my clothes? Guys, how am I supposed to? So I walk into the have-not room and the first thing I see is the spike beds. Brutal. This have-not room sucks. How am I supposed to sleep right here?
Big Brother Canada 6's have-not room included something I never would have expected in a room like this, that being a moat. There's a flat raised tomb in the middle of the water for guests to sleep on, but there are no sidebars to prevent them from falling into the stupid water, according to Hamza. And the same goes for the smaller areas on the edge of the moat. There is nothing preventing these players from yeeting themselves into the water as they sleep. Because of the possible ramifications of people falling into the water as they sleep, I'd place this very high on the list, specifically right below the BB-18 bumper cars.
So we walk into the have-not room, and your boy's already shaking in his pants. There's skulls everywhere, a tomb, nowhere to sleep, there's stupid water that smells funky. Like, how the hell am I supposed to sleep, big brother? What are you trying to do to us?
With Big Brother 20 having an overall tech theme to it, the have-not rooms reflected that with circuitry on the walls, dead TVs with a Matrix backdrop, and beds mimicking satellite dishes. These dishes certainly don't look like soft surfaces to sleep on, and just like the bumper cars, I think sleeping there would be a terrible experience whether the person is short or tall. That being said, I'd probably place this room right below the last room we discussed in the Moat Encircled tomb from BB Can 6.
Oh, these dishes are small, my friend. It's like hopping in a beanbag. You're like, oh, I can totally sleep in this, but halfway through the night, you realize that all your limbs are actually numb.
I need those stocks in pronto. Sell it all! Sell it all!
The next have-not room comes from Big Brother Canada 7, where we see an antique dentist's office. To me, this is pretty much a way shittier and far freakier version of the BB-17 dentist room, and it's by far the scariest have-not room ever. The room honestly gave me big Saw vibes, which I think is the scariest movie of all time, and it just really captured that rundown torture chamber vibe they were aiming for quite masterfully. It might not have the least comfortable bed situation, but the grimy, nasty aesthetic is enough for me to put it in the top half, right below the BB-16 icebox.
There's no cuddling happening in here. Our cuddling is gonna be holding hands with each other.
Nope, nope, nobody, nope, nope.
This is chill. I can work with this.
For the next season of Big Brother 21, the have-not room situation is different than ever before, as it was used as the camp comeback room for the first 3 weeks. And even when it became the official have-not room in week 4, it would only end up lasting 1 more week. As a week 4 have-not, Jackson Mickey was caught eating food and would be called out by fans. In response, production just stopped have-nots altogether in the season. But talking about the actual room, I wouldn't say it looks fully comfortable, though it surely seems better than a handful of rooms we've already covered. One of the beds is at an angle, which I can only assume is a nightmare to fall asleep on, but at least there's a mattress. There's a camp bed cot that doesn't seem to be too comfy either, but the worst has to be the bed with the springs coming out. However, I think it could be the same case as the BB19 spike room where house guests can put stuff atop it to cover it to make it less awkward to sleep on. The last bed looked like 3 mattresses stacked on top of each other, which also doesn't seem super comfy to sleep on. It's definitely the worst use of the have-not room we've seen so far, but the room itself seemed rough enough to land it right below BB19's spike room.
Checking out the digs.
First, I just wanted to say thank you again.
BB Can 8 isn't a real season. We've already gone through that on this channel. But it did have a have-not room included. This room had been swamp themed, with sounds of frogs croaking constantly and fake animals all around the room. On top of that, their sleeping area is just flat grass surrounded by overgrown weeds, which kind of just stuffs all the have-nots together by default. For what we got to see of the have-not room in action, I'd definitely say it belongs in the lower half of this list, probably right below the spike room from BB19.
One thing I was looking forward to in the have-not room was being able to just sprawl out and have my own space. I'm gonna go into the bush. Holy trumpets, I can't believe we have to sleep here.
We're following up a season that doesn't exist with the absolute worst season of the show. I don't care what anyone says. Putting aside my feelings on the season as a whole, Big Brother 22 tried revealing its have-not room in the premiere, but failed epically, just like the producers did with the opening live comp. When they ultimately got around to it in the following episode, we saw that it was like a boiler room with a tiny door to push to get in and out of. While the aesthetic reminded me of a shittier version of BB Can 7's room, it's really the tiny door they have to use to get in and out of the room that I adored. The room itself is far from the least comfortable as they had cots to sleep on, but that door is such a pain on its own, I have to put it right below the spiderweb trampoline room from Over the Top.
Oh my god, I feel like discarded into this room that is like underneath this beautiful Big Brother city above me, and I'm crawling underneath the sewage system of Big Brother land, and I'm just like, have not, have no.
It's awful.
Seeing as BB Can 10 didn't have a have-not room, BB Can 9's ball pit is the last room we'll see from Canada. And to set the record straight now, I know house guests were not required to sleep in this room, though I'm not really sure why, but it still is considered a have-not room nonetheless. I definitely think my ranking would differ if the house guests actually slept in it, but because it was used for the game chats, relaxation, or just anything that wasn't the have-not sleeping, it's going to be at the bottom of the list by default. It was cool to see a ball pit inside the Big Brother house, but it would have been even more interesting if they made the have-nots sleep there.
I do not like ball pits.
Big Brother 23's have-not room almost seemed like a retread of Camp Comeback from BB21 with the aesthetic of the walls along with the tilting bed. I will say, I always thought the Jetski was an interesting touch. It even kind of reminded me of the BB21 Jetski competition. And I definitely don't think it'd be fun to sleep on. Keeping all this in mind, I would rank the room as slightly worse than BB21's Camp Comeback room.
And then all week, we get to eat slop for breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack. Definitely not looking forward to the cold showers.
Bye, baby.
This ain't it.
Finally, we have arrived at Big Brother 24, which, nicely enough, has the 24th and final room we'll be looking at. The room's pool aesthetic is done well enough with the beach chairs, slide, and no diving banner lining the top of the walls, and the have-nots only having towels for blankets as they lay atop these inflatable pool floaties definitely makes for a less than luxurious environment. But in the grand scheme of things, looking over every other room we've covered, I'd say this is definitely on the better end of things, so I'd put it right above the BB22 boiler room.
We're gonna sleep horribly.
We have towels as blankets and pool floaties as our mattresses. I'm not gonna be able to sleep a wink this week.
I only volunteered because you volunteered. Someone tuck me in. yeah, I was saying the same thing.
With going over the list of rooms, I'm going to be breaking them down into 4 sections. The first section, making up the bottom 6 of the list, are the easy rooms. Number 24, the last place room at the bottom of the list, is BB Can 9's ball pit room. Number 23 is Big Brother Canada 1's sketchy hotel room. Number 22 is Big Brother 24's inflatable pool floaties room. Number 21 is Big Brother 22's boiler room with the tiny door. Number 20 is the Spider-Man trampoline room from Big Brother Over the Top. And lastly, number 19 is the empty room from Big Brother Canada 3. The next group of 6 we'll have are the rooms that I label as the medium rooms. Number 18 is Big Brother 13's padded cell room. Number 17 is the half-knot room from Big Brother Canada 2. Number 16 is Big Brother Canada 8's Swampy Nightmare room. Number 15 is Big Brother 21's Camp Comeback room. Number 14 is the Jetski room from Big Brother 23. And rounding out the section at number 13 is Big Brother 19's Spike room. As we've reached the top half of our rankings, I'd label the next group of 6 rooms as the hard rooms. Number 12 is the polished dentist office from Big Brother 17. Number 11 is Big Brother 11's metal mattress room. Number 10 is the lawn chairs and bug room from Big Brother 12. Number 9 is the antique dentist office from Big Brother Canada 7. Number 8 is Big Brother 16's icebox room. And the last hard room at number 7 is Big Brother 14's curved metal beds with hypnotic wallpaper. Finally, we've arrived at the top 6. I wasn't even trying to organize the list like this, but I think it's pretty nice that half of the rooms in this top 6 are from the US show, while the other 3 are from the Canadian seasons. Sticking with the incredible labeling I've done for the previous sections, we're gonna consider this final group of 6 rooms to be expert rooms. Okay, these labels don't even make sense. Number 6 is the wedding chapel from Big Brother Canada 4. Number 5 is Big Brother 15's airplane seat room. Number 4 is Big Brother 20's tech room with satellite dish beds. Number 3 is the Moat Encircled tomb from Big Brother Canada 6. Number 2 is the bumper car carnival room from Big Brother 18. And if you haven't already figured out what number 1 is, it is the abysmal prehistoric room from Big Brother Canada 5. And that's the list. With 24 options overall, I'm sure someone has a different order than me, so I'd love to read everyone's in the comments below. Y'all already know, like if you like, dislike if you dislike. Drop any ideas for any video ideas in the comments below. I read every single one. And now, I'ma go enjoy some slop. So whenever and whatever my next video is, always remember, enjoy yourself.